His little button isn't working. You are live with the App Show. Mike and John here. Mike Agarbo and John Bueller. We have an awesome program for you today, mostly dedicated to smartphones. We're doing a smartphone roundup of the year. We've got a good friend, Ted Kritsonis, out of Toronto to talk about some of the highs and lows of smartphone technology and some of his picks as well. Don't forget to hit our website. We got a great contest going, Christmas holiday gift bag. GetConnectedMedia.com. Hit the newsletter tab. Giving away an Oral-B smart toothbrush, Google Nest Mini, Surface earbuds, and Ancestry DNA kit.
That's right.
To track down people. That's what I would use it for. Some news this week. Apple has released a new gadget. And, we're going to bring our friend Brian Jackson on the line. He's from Infotech Research Group, where it's all about the research. He's an analyst and tech enthusiast as well, and just wanted to talk about some of this latest news. Not only did they release some new headphones, but also announced when the new Fitness Plus app is live.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Very soon.
Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Yeah, glad to be here, guys.
So what did you think about the news this week? We got headphones, we got the Fitness Plus announcement, and the family setup for the Apple Watch is live as well. But I think the big news would be the over-the-ear headphones dubbed the AirPods
Max.
AirPod Max, as in maximum impact on your wallet, because these things are incredibly expensive. This is $550 US. In Canada, after tax, you're paying $800 for a pair of headphones.
Oh, I thought $550 was the Canadian price.
No.
I know, you would think so. You would hope so, but no. It's even more than that.
So close to over 800 with tax.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I'll be able to get that for Christmas. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to get that for Christmas.
Well, you can't, because they're already like a 14-week pre-order time.
So, Brian, I know where you're going with this. You're like, what the hell? They're so expensive, but they're sold out.
Right, so, of course. And that's the magic of Apple, is they can make anything and make people want it instantly. But the power is not that they're made an incredibly good product. And usually I would say that Apple is known as a premium technology brand. They create, yes, higher priced products like the MacBook, the iPhone. It's a pretty expensive product, but you get the return on the quality. The build quality is there. It lasts a long time. It's high performance. It's really good and makes you happy. In this case, I don't think there's any argument for the price tag other than it's a shameless luxury tier pricing tactic. And they just want you to be able to flaunt your buying power by by buying this and putting it on your head as a piece of fashion technology.
But it comes in 5 colors, Brian.
What are the 5 colors again? Because I mean, if it's green, then maybe it's worth $800, right?
Well, there is a green one,
color a lot.
which I do like as well. It comes in a sky blue. It comes in a gray.
$800. I mean, obviously they're putting a lot of good tech in there.
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem I have with AirPods and AirPods Pro is I always found that they were very expensive for what they actually are. And when you look at the marketplace of what else is out there, they're really expensive. They're simple. They're easy to use. No question, especially on the Apple side. But I've got like a $50 pair of Amazon Echo Buds that sound just about as good.
I can't live without my AirPods. I love them.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. But so the question is, when I spend $800,
there just has to be a ceiling, a price ceiling on what you would spend on headphones. I mean, they just let you hear sound. That's it. Like, that's all you need from a pair of headphones. Like you talk about the high-end technology. It's a couple of magnets with copper wire wrapped around it inside, and they're covering it with foam. I mean, the technology is not amazing. They haven't done anything here that's not released to the market. And as for this spatial audio feature, it's only available if you're using it with your other overpriced Apple products like the iPad or the iPhone. So most consumers don't even have that option. If you shell out $800, you're not getting that benefit of the spatial audio when you use it with any other device.
Did someone break your iPhone, Brian?
Well, I mean, to give you an idea of my reasonable approach to buying technology, I won't even spend $800 on a smartphone, right? Like I just bought a Pixel 5. It cost me $500. So I got it on some Black Friday special. So how can Apple come into the market and say, yes, buy a pair of headphones that are more expensive than the laptop you use, the smartphone you carry, or the tablet that we sell you?
Okay, so but the honest answer here right now is everyone, Google, Samsung, they're all asking themselves, how can we do this? How can we charge?
I mean, the results are there, and Apple is laughing all the way to the bank because they've sold them out.
The thing though, this price point, and I'm not defending Apple with it, and because I haven't listened to them yet, and I'm not an audiophile. We do have people on the team that are. So when we do get our pair, we will definitely
Test them out.
Yeah. This price point is not out of line for audiophile equipment. It's actually probably half of what the average audiophile over the ear closed design headphones would go for. Typically in the the $1,200 to $1,500 range.
Yeah.
And we've given away noise canceling headphones on this show
that were worth $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the realm. And again, I'm not defending it because I haven't.
But is your sophisticated audiophile really going to Apple to get that premium tier audio quality? I don't think they are. I think if you're serious about engineering music or something, I think you're going with a music brand that's been made in this business for a long time. I see this more on the product category list alongside something like Bose or Sony, or what even Parrot had, those Zeek pair of headphones that were on the market, and you can buy those from $350 up to about $450. I just think this is an overpriced product in the category that it's even trying to be in.
Well, Brian, we know what you're getting in your stocking. It's a lump of apple coal. But we want to thank you for coming on the show today.
All right. Thanks for hearing me out, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Brian Jackson from Infotech Research Group, where it's all about the research. When we come back, it's our smartphone roundup for the year. Stay tuned. You are back with the App Show. Mike and John here. Well, it's the end of the year, and we're going to do a bit of a roundup of some of the best smartphone tech out there, starting off with Android and then a little bit on the Apple side, because they're two different ecosystems. To help us go through that is our smartphone expert, Ted Kritsonis, out of Toronto. Thanks for joining us, Ted.
Always a pleasure, boys.
You get to try all the smartphones, don't you?
Yes. Well,
Yes.
almost.
Yes, we do too, but you're better at reviewing them. So that's why we have. You'll actually spend a lot of time trying these different models out. So we're going to start on the Android side, which is the biggest, segment of the smartphone market worldwide. But I guess North America is not as big as worldwide. I think if you look at the whole globe, it's over 80% market penetration. But here in North America, it's only about half, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's pretty high here too. It's just that different companies do well here relative to other markets. So we have some couple of Chinese brands that do extremely well outside of North America, like Xiaomi, for example. I mean, there might be some listeners here who have never heard of that company, but they do really, really well. Oppo is another one. So there's a lot of stuff going on outside of our bubble here in North America, but obviously this is the market that everybody clamors for, because obviously a huge middle class, I guess, willing to pay good money for good phones, and now that the competition is fairly tight. I mean, there's quite a few players, especially on the Android side, that are clamoring for those dollars, right? So
Ted, one of the newest players in the Android space this year was TCL this year. Yeah. So they brought their phones. Now they brought their phones
in the mid-range or affordable categories. So they're not playing in that sandbox of like the really high-end flagships, right? Where the Samsungs and, and the Apples are. So they figured, okay, we're going to try and go in with, something a little bit more affordable, something that's within reach for most people, and try our luck that way. But what I think is going to happen with TCL is that they're going to go kind of the way their TVs went. So initially, like when TCL brought their TVs to Canada in 2018, they did, they were undercutting the competition on price, but I don't know that consumers were sold quite at that time, but I think they are now, 2 years later. So I think TCL will probably make more of an impact. Well, we'll have to see, but they would make more of an impact in 2021 or 2022, I think, with their phones.
What was interesting, though, is when they did launch it, though, it was a very compelling price point for, like you said, kind of a mid-tier quality phone, but definitely all the specs were pretty good for the average person. But then if you bought the Pro, they would give you a TV.
Yeah.
Which,
I know.
Even if you don't use it, you just sell it to somebody else. That's a huge discount on that phone. And they're just sort of pushing themselves into the market that way. I have the 10L Pro and I think it's a great phone.
Yeah, Ted, what are your thoughts on the phones themselves, the quality? Like, would you recommend them?
Yeah, for the price, like if you're willing to pay that price, but I got to add a caveat here. If you're willing to pay that price and you're okay with not having the best phone camera, you're good. I think the software experience is good. It's pretty fluid. I didn't really have any major hiccups or caveats when using the phone. Like I found that it was good, especially for someone with modest expectations and tastes. The phone is going to be it's going to be fine, perfectly fine. It'll be very good value for the money. But just know that you're not necessarily getting the best camera that you can get for that price. And the reason I say that is because of Google, which we can get to at some point here. But yeah,
it's interesting though, because I actually took some photos with the TCL 10 Pro, 10L Pro, I think, and my iPhone 12 Pro. It was when we had all that activity in the sky at night with the comets and things like that. And I actually found that I liked the photo that I took on the TCL better because it wasn't as over-processed for the night mode that you get on a lot of the flagship phones now, is all this processing, computational photography, as they call them. But I think that's a very specific niche thing where it was trying not to do too much to what actual light was being shown. So, but yeah, I don't think if you're into photography, you're going to think of TCL as your first choice.
No, but some decent phones for the price. So Google, that's a player out there as well. I think people think Google's probably a big player in the smartphone category, but they're not. They do sell, a number of them, but the Samsungs of the world are still the juggernauts out there. But Google Pixel, you recommend them this year?
Absolutely. And the reason why is partly because of price. So one thing that I think that was smart that Google did this year, and I think it's an overarching point, is that they didn't make a flagship phone that was prohibitively expensive. So the Pixel 5, which is their flagship for 2020, because it uses certain components that are not necessarily the best or the fastest, brought the phone under $1,000. But the 5 isn't even the phone I generally recommend to people. I do if you want a second lens or you just feel like you want the best that Google offers. I actually recommend the 4A more so because the 4A comes in at under $500. Now the 5G version is above that, but the regular 4A is under $500. It's the best camera you can get in that price range. Not that anything doesn't come close, but it's just you're getting pretty much 90% of the Pixel 5 camera in the Pixel 4A. So to me, like if a camera is a big consideration for you, but so is budget, you can't go wrong with the 4A. The value is fantastic, and the battery life is better than what it used to be, especially from last year. With the 3A wasn't bad, but the Pixel 4 was terrible on battery life. And the 4A is a huge upgrade from that. So it's kind of ironic, right? Like it's like this mid-range phone coming after last year's flagship, but outpacing it in some key areas.
But it's interesting though, because what we noticed, and we recommend the 4A as well. Someone just asked us both actually the other day about that, and we said the 4A was the best value and for what you get. But you really need to look at the specs or what's included, because sometimes they take things out that you think were just sort of like default now for all phones, like being waterproof or
Yes.
IP68, rated. I don't think the 4A is.
The 4A is not water resistant, and by the way, no wireless charging either.
That's right.
So you're right. I mean, those are two key features, like two corners that were cut to bring that price down, and you have to be okay with that. I mean, this is one of those rare phones these days. You have to be worried that just in case it drops into a toilet bowl by accident. This phone will not survive that very likely. So you do have to be careful. You got to put a case on it just in case, because it's also a little bit fragile. But it again, as long as you're careful and you're okay with those things that are missing, that you can't go wrong for the price that Google is charging for it.
I want to ask a question to both of you guys. So Google's got their Pixels. They've got the 5, the 4A. They've launched 5G versions of it as well. So you can actually choose between the two. And considering, like, how long do people keep phones? 2-3 years?
Well, I think it depends on the phone. If you're spending $1,600 for a flagship Apple phone, you might keep it a little bit longer. But if you're on the lower end of the spectrum, you also are probably the person that drops your phone all the time, shatters the screen, has to replace that all the time. But I think I know where you're going with this question. Does 5G matter?
Yeah, so that is my question. So the 5G versions of these phones cost more, $150 more.
Yeah,
from what I remember. Is it worth it in your mind? Ted, I'll go to you first.
In 2020, no, because there's no network to really benefit from. So, that's going to be an easier question to answer in 2021. Basically, if you're buying a 5G phone in 2020 and you plan to hang on to it throughout 2021, you just you future-proofed yourself to some degree. That's all you were doing, because you weren't going to benefit from 5G in 2020. When you look at the map of what is available for 5G for the major carriers, it's a pittance of what it could be. And it's going to be the major cities that get it first anyway. So it's going to be a while before we really see any traction in that regard.
Yeah, I would totally agree with Ted. Don't buy 5G for the sake of 5G. We've done a number of tests, Mike and I, with 5G phones in the city, out of the city. 4G LTE still is actually faster in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it's just and how much more penetration are we going to get in 2021 even is my question.
Yeah.
And, is it worth the extra $150 if you're not going to hold on to the phone for a couple of years? I'm going to just have to halt everyone here. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the smartphones of the year, which one that you might want to decide to pick up. You're listening to The App Show. Back after this. You are back with The App Show. Mike and John here. We're talking smartphones today, kind of doing a roundup of the year. What are some of the best ones, the highlights, what you might want to choose. So we're going to go from Google now, and let's go over to...
Just one more on the Android side.
Okay.
You actually found this.
Oh, we're going to keep going with Android.
Oh, are we? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just going to mention the TerraCube phone.
Yeah.
Was really interesting. Have you played with the one, Ted?
No, I've actually asked for one to review that, because I was very curious about that myself, but I haven't been able to try it personally.
Yeah. So the big interesting selling point, which is sort of different than a lot of the other players, is that it's a very low cost phone. It's not going to be flagship status, but it's all user sort of repairable, maybe more in the DIY maker space. But if you want to get a different camera module, you can literally unscrew it and put it in yourself.
Everything screws. There's no glue.
It's a modular phone. Yeah. It's a modular phone.
Yeah. And so if you break the screen, you can get a replacement for about $60 US.
It's not bad.
And you can install it yourself.
So this phone is like under $200.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
But not overly powerful.
No, but to give it to your parents or to your kids, the fact that it's user serviceable and the replacement parts are available and fairly inexpensive compared to an Apple or a Samsung, I think that's a compelling proposition. And they're also trying to be like more on the eco side with using recycled plastics and all that type of stuff. So it's more of a sustainable phone as they market it. But
yeah, I know you're trying that out, so we'll give more of a review over the next few weeks, and maybe Ted, maybe they'll send you one day.
We'll see. I'm wondering.
Let's talk Samsung now. They're obviously the big guy out there, one of the biggest smartphone makers in the world. As always, they have a variety of different phones and technologies. They have the Note line, which is kind of the big phablet, with the S Pen, so you can use it as like a writing device. They've got the regular Galaxy S20 line that they had this year as well. I thought maybe the interesting story here, Ted, again, came down to price. Obviously they have to launch those flagship phones. Those things are getting expensive, right? You're looking $1,200 to $1,500, depending on what model you get, even higher if you get, more memory in them. But the one that seems to be doing well is the fan edition of the S20. And that one's coming in just under $1,000.
Yeah. So, okay. And now I don't know this for a fact, but to me, they launched the fan edition partly because of what I thought was really the trend going on in 2020. Now, of course, the pandemic is going to be a factor in this. People are going to be a little bit tighter with the money. They're not going to be able to spend as much. But I would argue that was already a trend that was already going on in 2019. So I think there's a little bit of a shift that's been going on towards more of a mid-range type device because some of the key technology is being applied at that level. So the fan edition has done well. In my opinion, it's the S20 phone that I recommend to everybody. Forget the Ultra. The Ultra actually was kind of a disappointment because of some of the things that Samsung was hyping up about it. And they launched 3 versions at the same time. The fan edition, though, is kind of a combination of those things. And to me, it's the phone I recommend as far as the S20 line goes. But to me, Samsung finally and ultimately has to now combine the Note and S lines together. Enough's enough. The screen sizes are not different anymore. Even the screen technologies are not different anymore. Only the pen is the difference. Just include it with the S20 or the S30, whatever you're going to call the next one, and just be done with it.
I thought also Samsung really showed that the second generation of all their folding phones are, really coming into their own now. We had the Fold and the Flip, if I remember those names correctly. They were actually really good.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the strides they've made in working that technology. I love the Flip. It's like a little flip phone, basically.
It reminds me of like the Game Boy SP.
Yeah, and I still have it, and I'm using it. It's eye catching. When I bring that out, well, not that I'm going out anymore, but when I occasionally had gone out and open that up, people are always like, "Oh my God, what is that?" Yeah. It's a folding screen phone. It's amazing. Ted, in your opinion, in 2021, do you think that's going to be a thing, or are we still recovering from COVID and people tight with money?
Well, Samsung will keep making these folding phones or whatever they churn out of a lab in Korea. They'll come out with those and they'll be obscenely priced, and few people will be able to buy them really or be interested in buying them. But what I'm more interested in, because although I'm curious about that, what I'm more interested in, I think, from an average consumer, is how many Samsung phones they'll be able to choose from. Because we didn't even talk about the actual mid-range Samsung phones, like the A line,
yes,
right? The A7, the A71, the A51. Like those were actually, I would argue, those are probably the phones that sold the most for Samsung.
We gave a couple away over the summer, and I think those were definitely one of the more popular prizes as far as entries that we would get from people that were excited about getting those phones, because it's the balance of the features and price for the average person, not the Uber photographer or the the TikTok.
So those are coming around $500-$600.
Yeah.
But Ted,
or less.
How are the cameras on them though?
The cameras are okay. I mean, the A71 was a significant upgrade camera-wise over the A51, which wasn't surprising.
Hang on a sec, Ted.
Here we go. So those phones are coming in $500 or $600, right?
Or less.
And the camera, like, how are the cameras on that compared to, the $1,000 or the $1,200 phones?
Not as good. Obviously, you're not going to get, Samsung always saves its best camera technology for its best phones. But that's partly why that Fan Edition phone was appealing, was because you got most of the best camera technology in a price that was more palatable, I would say, compared to other devices that Samsung launched. But I think ultimately those mid-range phones under the A line do very, very well for them, especially on volume, because again, they're within reach for more people, whether you're getting it on a deal or not.
Yeah, because a lot of times those are the phones that you get for free or very little money up front.
Yeah.
Let's talk Huawei now. They were a major player, in 2019 and set to really take over in 2020 until all the craziness happened. U.S. sanctions against them using U.S. technology, but still they managed to sell hundreds of millions of phones worldwide. But their latest versions don't even have stock Google Android anymore. They're running Android, but an open source version. What are your thoughts on Huawei right now, Ted?
So the P40 Pro to me was the phone that was, so good in so many ways, but unfortunately handicapped in a lot of, for obvious reasons, right? So here was a device that if it was running Android like everything else would be an exceptional device. Although I'm still not crazy about Huawei's software. Still, the device is great. It's just unfortunately it's hampered by what it can't do, right? And this actually created more of an opportunity for OnePlus to stand out, because OnePlus has one of the best Android experiences of any phone out there. It's fantastic. Their Oxygen software is amazing, and their camera's getting better. But OnePlus went the opposite of what some of the other brands are doing by going like flagship, like going like, hey, we're going to go above $1,000. OnePlus had made its name by being cheaper than the competition, but they were more expensive in some cases than the competition in 2020. So the phones are great, but it's a harder sell when you're charging as much as you are, right? But yeah, Huawei will be a company to watch for, though, in 2021.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens when Biden gets in, if there's going to be changes on those restrictions as far as the technologies and chips, because that's hampering their even ability to even make the phones now. I've been using a Huawei P40 Pro, one of the phones in my arsenal. It is, I love it. The camera on it is amazing.
Amazing.
It is running Android. I've been able to get pretty well most of the apps that I typically would use on there. They've got the Huawei app gallery and something called Pedal Search that finds those apps for you and installs it. So, there are a few little hitches here and there, like Uber doesn't work well. The mapping stuff is not always perfect, but it's not bad. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the iPhone and Apple in review for this year, 2020. Back after this. You're back with the App Show. Mike and John here talking about smartphones in review this year. Of course, Apple. They're the big player out there. We've got Ted Kritsonis on the line helping us through this. What was the big story in your opinion with the Apple smartphones this year, Ted?
Well, that they launched 4 versions of the iPhone 12, including a mini. And ultimately the mini and the regular 12 are going to be the ones that sell the most, along with the SE, the phone that they launched earlier in 2020. Those are ultimately the ones that are going to sell the most for Apple. The Pro versions are not a volume play. It's just the margins are so high on those phones that they don't need to sell as many of them. And frankly, I don't think most people need the Pro version. The regular iPhone 12 is fine. It's I don't know, like it's typical Apple. Like I don't know that the 12 is that much better than the 11. At this point, the company just makes incremental improvements. I know they played up the photography side of things, and that's always good that they improve on that. But I still think they're not at the top yet. Definitely not.
What about the MagSafe feature, the magnetic back for wireless charging?
Yeah, so that's a way for them to license something out to accessory manufacturers. So it's another revenue stream for the company. Although I do wonder if you have that magnet in the back of the phone and you put a credit card near that in your pocket, will it not ruin the card?
We're going to get you to test that, Ted.
Yeah, like it's just things like that. Like it's practical things like that I wonder about when they release a technology or a feature that is supposed to be convenient, but at the same time could be inconvenient if it leads to some unforeseen incident like that, right? I know that there have been people who have experienced this issue. So you got to have a case or something, something to kind of create a buffer between any of your plastic and and that MagSafe on the back, right?
It's interesting. You talked about Samsung that they should pare down the amount of versions of their S20 line, or that particular line. Yeah. And here's Apple expanding their line.
Yeah, which I don't know that they're going to do that again. I mean, they might. It really depends on how many they move, because they're trying to appeal to those who want a smaller screen and those who want a huge screen. And then you have a couple of different models in the middle. I don't know. I would like to see fewer iPhones, but I guess, the powers that be in Cupertino think otherwise. Maybe more choice is better. But they'll make that decision and determination, I think, based on how many units they move out of these four. It would not shock me if one of them is cut after this year. And if it was like, my money would be either on the Mini or the 12 or like the regular Pro. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, they've already created their own silicon for their Macs. They're already using their own silicon for their phones. So I have a feeling maybe next year they might have something else to pull out, especially when it comes to photography.
You don't think they improved the cameras enough in this one?
They did. They did improve them, but to say that they're better than and not that, and Google, I feel Google didn't move far enough on the camera side. They should have done way more, especially on hardware. Like Google, it's time to use a different image sensor. Seriously. But at the same time, I don't know that Apple, like, I guess I'm speaking relative to the hype that Apple threw out there, right? Like that this is like exceptional. It's like revolutionary. I don't know. I'm not so.
It worked on us, Ted. We both have iPhone 12s.
and do you feel like it's do you feel it's revolutionary? I mean,
I feel good, Ted.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like the camera. I have noticed a difference in the night shots. There's no question.
And even the day shots.
Yeah. And I had the 11 Pro before this, and I think you did as well, John. So I have noticed a different. It just keeps getting better, which is great, and that happens.
Which is good. That's the way it should be. Yeah.
Ted, I want to thank you for joining us again.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you for having me.
Don't forget to hit our website, getconnectedmedia.com. We've got lots of great reviews up there of all these different smartphones. When we come back from the break, more tech to talk. Stay tuned. You are back with the App Show. Mike and John here. That was a lot of smartphone.
It was.
But yeah, there was a lot of great choices, a lot of cool technology. So I'm excited coming into 2021 to see what to expect, like what kind of innovations will happen, just even based on, COVID, like if they're going to take that into account.
Well, that's the thing I'm wondering about too, is like, has that hampered any development that they would normally have done? It has to have some way. I mean, Apple even pushed back their stuff and it was probably already ready.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yes.
And we'll keep you on top of that. Want to throw to our contest. It's a great one this holiday season here. It's a holiday gift tech basket that we've put together. And there's hundreds of dollars of prizes in here. An Ancestry.ca DNA kit. We have an Oral-B IO Series 7 smart toothbrush. This thing is cool. It tells you how to brush your teeth properly. And also a Google Nest Mini and some Microsoft Surface earbuds.
And a 6-month subscription to the Ancestry service so you can actually research your whole family history.
Yeah, like, and you know, that's a cool thing. If you've already got the DNA kit done, the subscription service, it is awesome. I had a chance to try it out. You can research so many different historical databases for your relatives, and you would be amazed at what comes up. So if you want a chance to win all of that, getconnectedmedia.com. And don't forget to hit our website just for all the great articles and blogs we have there, all the latest tech videos, first looks, how-to segments. They're all up there, including our video podcasts as well. I want to thank everyone that helps put the show together. Of course, John Beeler, my co-host and producer, and Christina Stoyanova back at the studio. We'll see you again next time.